All right, we're live. Let's do
Wow, we look amazing alive.
this. Yeah. All right. So this is the Salt Lake Business Podcast, episode, I think it's 4.
Wow, I'm on episode 4.
You're episode 4.
Love number 4.
So this is Matt Atkinson, one of my favorite people here in the Valley. I mean, one of my favorite people ever. I don't know.
There we go. I was like, the Valley's kind of short. I'm like, come on, gotta give me a little more credit than the Valley.
He got me my start in real estate, my first transaction, my first hard money loan, first rental property. A lot of firsts.
A lot of first boyfriend?
No.
Okay, no boyfriends for Daryl.
Yeah. So, Matt, why don't you tell the people kind of what you're up to and
Sure.
what you're about?
So, I am been a mortgage lender for going on 19 years. I started the end of 2001, the young age of 23, 41 now. And I've been investing in real estate since 2004 with my first single family residency, which I still own today. I bought 13 properties in 2006, kind of like how aggressive you are, but you're a little more disciplined than I was. I was definitely more chaotic than you were. So I think we can empathize with that. And then as I started buying the rental portfolio, like the market crashed, right? So as the market crashed nationally and then also in Utah, I learned a lot about how important cash flow was. And as I determined how important cash flow was, I understood, wow, I gotta have money in savings so I don't short sell or foreclose on a house. And I was very fortunate during the downturn of the market. I was still able to buy income properties without losing any of the properties that I owned. And then I started fixing and flipping properties in 2008. And then I started lending hard money to other people. Then during like the bottom of the market, 2011 or 12, I started doing like off-market properties assignments and start doing real estate coaching or consulting. So that's what I've been doing in my career. In addition to being a family man, I'm married, have 2 wonderful sons, 9 and 6. I have a stepdaughter who's 22 years young. And I love real estate investing and business because it allows you to create your lifestyle that you're looking for with hard work and determination. So a little bit about myself.
Awesome. So take us back to, you said when the market crashed, you realized that cash flow was super important.
Yeah.
What did you do to get that cash flow?
Yeah, so I've always been a good saver, even like 18 years old, opening up a bank account, putting $500 in it, and I remember getting a credit card like right when I turned 18 for like $500, and then probably 6 or 12 months later I got like a free shirt and got a Discover card. Like I remember like I got a free shirt, like I wanted a free shirt, and then I got a Discover card. I'm like, oh, that's weird. I know I didn't get a credit card, but I knew like whatever I borrowed I would normally need to pay off, right? And then the other thing I would take into consideration is like how important having money was. So I actually went on an LDS mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and we had a budget on a monthly basis. And a lot of my companions, those are like the people you serve with, not your people you date. Okay, so they would always run out of money. Like 75% of them would run out of money like by the 20th of the month because they'd spend all their money. And we'd pay for our own food. And I remember I'm like, oh, I always had money for food. And they'd ask like, hey, can I borrow money? I'm like, no, I'm not lending you money. Like you have the same amount of money as I do. Like learn how to budget. So after I came home from my mission, I actually was such a good saver. I came back with maybe a couple $1,000s. So I started college again. And then I've always saved money with that. With that being said, when I started in the mortgage industry, end of 2001, beginning of 2002, I was full commission. I didn't get any base or anything. And I had basically 5 months of living expenses saved that I was like, okay, if I don't make money this next month, I'm just going to go back to working at Chili's, which was awesome, and continue to go to school. And that next month I made like maybe $5,000 or $6,000 on a commission because things hit into place. And then like the next month I made $7,000 or $8,000. I was like, oh, this is awesome. That year I made about $80,000 my first year doing mortgages. So basically the first 4 months I made nothing, first 4 or 5. The last 7 or 8 I made like 80,000. And I was like, I remember my last semester in college having money, and my friends are like, holy cow, you're making like $8,000 or $10,000 a month. And I was like, yeah. and then I quit going to college, and then 2 years later, a bunch of people were buying cars. Do you like cars?
Yeah.
What kind of car do you like?
I want the Tesla.
A Tesla. All right. What type of Tesla?
I want the new Roadster when it comes out.
A Roadster. I don't even know there's a Roadster
It's
Tesla.
not out yet.
It's not out yet.
It's gonna
Okay.
come out.
So when I was younger, I had 3 goals, and I'll go back into this. I had 3 goals graduating from high school. Number 1 was making $100,000 in a year. I remember if I made $100,000 in a year, wow, I'm set. Number 2 is drive a BMW. I love the BMW Z3s from James Bond movies. I love James Bond. And then 3 was grow out a ponytail for some reason. Just have long hair and have a ponytail. So when I started writing mortgages, all these other people were buying cars. And I was like, man, I'm not going to just go spend money on a car because I wanted to have money in savings, and I was building up because I wanted to buy a house. So in 2003, I bought my BMW because I had a bunch of money saved. And then I bought a motorcycle, and I started spending money without buying my first house. And then I read the book, The Millionaire Next Door. Have you ever read it before?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. It's about frugal. You never know who's a millionaire. You could have a millionaire driving a Buick, or the fancy people who don't have that much, right? So I was like, oh man, I need to be better with my money again, right? Conserve, save. So when I bought my first house, so I made $100,000 by 24, had a BMW by 24, and was growing my hair out. So I was hit my life goals, right?
I need to see pictures.
Yeah. There's not very many available. We didn't have camera phones back then. We had flip phones or little brick Nokias.
Unfortunate.
Like 5180s or 8260s or something like that. So when I bought my first house, my goal was to put 20% down, like most people think they want to. And I did an adjustable rate mortgage. I did either a 3 or 5 year ARM. I don't remember what I did. But I remember looking at which one makes better, because I'd only plan to stay there for a certain amount of time. And my goal is to pay it off as quickly as possible, because I'm like, if I can have 3 roommates living with me paying $400 a month, that's 4 times 12 is 1,200. Then 1,200 times 12 is basically 14,400 or 15,000. I can prepay the mortgage, and then I could have $2,000 I can pay it. So after I bought my house, put 20% down, remodeled it, I was like, holy cow, I got no money. I'm tapped out, because I put 20% down and I did a bunch of remodeling, right? So then I borrowed a home equity line of credit to borrow against it. And I'm like, I understand I always need to have money in the bank, because you never know when you need the cash, right? So I'm all about having lines of credit, because you never know when you need to tap into them. So when I bought my second property, was a short sell that I bought from a client who was trying to refinance, and they were not able to, and I still own the property. And I remember negotiating the short sell. It reminds me of you maybe a year ago, and I was eager beaver, but not sure how to do the deal flow. I brought a friend in to negotiate, figure out all that stuff, convey to the seller how it works, and I just wanted to buy the property.
Yeah.
So he was a realtor. He double-sided the commission, which I was happy to do. I bought the property as a short sell, so that means, have you ever bought a short sell yet?
No.
So a short sell, you know what that is?
I do.
When you settle for less than what's owed. They're super common.
But you're dealing with the bank, though, right?
Yeah, you're dealing with the bank and the seller. The seller has to agree to short sell, and the bank has to approve that price. So we learn how to move properties and short sales, if you'd like to learn more about that another time. So we put this property under contract, and I went, do you like baseball? No? Do you like sports?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Football, basketball.
Football, basketball, okay. So I went to New York to try to see the New York Yankees play the Boston Red Sox in 2004, when the Boston Red Sox actually came back 3-1 and beat the Yankees. So my friend and I already booked flights to go to New York to try to time it. And ironically, when we were in New York, Boston was playing, and the Yankees were playing in Boston. So I remember this. We went to the appointment, we locked it up under contract, then we went to the airport. So it was a very memorable, cool experience, right? So as I bought that property, I put a bunch of money into it. I over-improved the crap out of it. I didn't have a Matt Atkinson teaching me, my friends, don't put too much money into it.
What's your rehab budget?
Probably $25,000, in 2005. That's a lot of money in 2005, right? That's the equivalent of probably $50,000 now, okay? I just remodeled everything, okay? So what's cool though is I still had the money, right? So I always had cash available. And then in 2006, I bought 13 houses. So I was really aggressive. And I would buy with hard money, do forced appreciation through
How much
renovation.
cash did you have saved up when you bought these
Probably
houses?
like 10 to 15,000 each one. So like 13 times 15 is like 150, 180,000. So I was making really good money, but I was really conservative and I just wasn't blowing money back and forth, right?
Right.
And then like what's cool is you asked what made me like be conservative with the cash flow is I was helping people write mortgages all throughout the nation. Nevada, Arizona, California, Florida, Texas, Ohio, Maryland, Virginia, Wyoming, Washington, Oregon, like, and I would see all these different real estate investors who are not as experienced buying properties, and they weren't cash flowing. Like they're totally banking on appreciation, and they were negatively cash flowing. And there's a gentleman named Bill Bronchek. Have you ever seen Bill Bronchek speak?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm in his
You
coaching program.
Yeah, you did. Okay. So he talks about alligators. Like alligators just eat your cash flow. He wrote a book. I don't remember what it's called. I think it's Defensive Real Estate Investing. I think that's what it's called. But alligators just gobble up your cash flow, right? So as I saw these investors on a national basis not being able to make their payments any longer, they were good credit borrowers. They were overextended though, and they were just riding on appreciation. They started short selling their properties or trying to do loan modifications. So it was interesting me helping people with financing and then having clients 1 or 2 years later saying, I can't afford my house any longer. I got a short sell. I lost my job. I need to do a loan modification. How does that work? Like it just really reinforced with me, like, man, me having cash and making sure I can cover my bills are super important.
So how many did you buy in that year?
Which year?
The first year, 12?
So in 2004, 1, 2005, 1 or 2, 2006, 13.
So you bought 13 in 1 year. Do you ever get to a point where you were just super stressed, like,
Yeah.
like I might have went too far here.
Yeah.
I don't have any money.
No.
Things.
Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, I definitely commingle funds? Absolutely. Like I would go to the bank and have buckets of receipts and with all these credit card slips, and I'd write on them and I'd try to transfer money back and forth, and like my wife calls it robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like that was totally me. But I had the money, it just was not in the right account, right?
So you were never at a point when you had those properties where you're like, oh, I might not be making payroll this month.
Yeah, no. So really funny. I had one employee then that I had to cover payroll. So I always made sure to cover payroll. And then I hired my second employee named Lonnie, who still works with me today. She's an awesome job. She's my ops manager. I always covered, like, I knew what we needed to make. And then also with the downturn of the market, so was I stressed? Absolutely. Did I like pull through it? Absolutely. Did I lose sleep over it? Probably not, because I was like 26, right? I'm like, you're 26, like I could take on the world, right?
Yeah.
A single guy dating my wife. But I also didn't spend a lot. I didn't go on a lot of vacations. I didn't like go out tons. I was not as strict as Gary Vee, like just hustle. But I worked like 60 hours a week, and I worked every Saturday doing some stuff with mortgages or mostly real estate investing. So it's a good way to like reflect on how to get more capital for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So fast forward to modern day today, you have kind of how many streams of income do you have right now?
7.
So you have 7. So kind of go into like that. How did that evolve, and what are you really focusing on?
Yeah, great question. So residential mortgages has always been my bread and butter. I've been a lender 18, 19, going on 19 years. So residential lending's first. Rental properties is second. Actually, hard money lending is third, because I've done it the longest. I just never told anyone about it. Flipping properties is 5th. Buying assignments is 6th. Real estate consulting or teaching classes is 7th.
Did you say
6th.
Buying assignments?
Yeah, moving properties, assignments, wholesaling. Okay. So lending, rentals, hard money lending, flipping properties, assignments, coaching, and then we're doing real estate agency and property management is 7th. So we're rolling that out now. It's really cool.
Is it really rolling out? 'Cause
Yeah, it's really
last
rolling
year
out.
it was rolling out.
No, it's really rolling out. We just had a meeting about it today and put some forecasting budgets together of what that looks like, because there's a really big need for it.
So it's like a little like a mini startup in your world, would you say?
I would say not necessarily a startup so much, because we've already managing 100 houses.
It's just kind of
It's just
I guess
allowing,
going
allowing
horizontally,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's allowing us to work with more other people versus just myself.
So it's a new business for you, if you will. So kind of describe out how you're forecasting that, how are you projecting
Good
clients
question.
that you're getting.
So good question. So I'm going to say it's a business that we're opening to the public, because I've been managing my own properties for 15 years. I've had an employee since 2006 who still works with me today. I'm very lucky, for 13 years. So like her and I are like totally on page with each other, right? Most of the time. Most of the time I need to get on her page, right? That's how it goes. So we brought in a property management lead last year that we identified, hey, the biggest opportunity that we need to delegate is another property manager lead. So as we determine another property manager lead, that's like, okay, that's good. And she's super excited. She's already managed up to 300 properties before. So what's good is we don't have to go figure out how to go do it. She's done it. So we're relying a lot upon her to like have a fluid transition. We're going to be selective who to work with, because we don't need to work with everyone, right? Like that's the cool thing is.
So you don't want to work with someone who has like one or two. You kind of want to work with the guys that have like 7 to 10 plus.
So here's a good. I think who the person is more important than how many properties they have. So, relationships like, if I remember, your first realtor to help you out is Spencer Williams, right? Mm-hmm. So he helped you buy a couple properties, and you got your license, and you worked on his team, and then you're like, hey, I thank you for what you've done. I want to go learn things on my own, right? And you guys still talk to each other, probably still do deals together.
Still do deals together?
Yeah. So that's a good respectful thing. Just like me meeting you. I don't remember, we probably met at a meeting that I was teaching.
Met when you did your Tuesday classes.
Got it for free.
For free.
Yep, down in Lehigh.
Yeah, I remember I came once. I was the only person, so I got 90 minutes of Matt Atkinson time, which
VIP
is
time.
super rare.
Yeah, you got it. So, but that's cool is you made the commitment to go, right? And we just offered it for free, and we could have one person or we could have 30 people. Sometimes we had 30, right?
Yeah.
So, the cool thing is as you have more deal flow or different opportunities, then you can work together, right? And then you kind of figure out like what you really enjoy or what part. Like I love the communicating with clients, development of team members or employees, like higher level, like, hey, how can we accomplish this? I think my team does a really good job, an awesome job of figuring out other things that I don't need to worry about, or if not worrying about it, but it just gives them the opportunity to learn and grow too. Because pretty much everything that they are doing or having to figure out, I've already done it a bunch of times. Mm-hmm. So it allows people just to develop and get better. So opening it up for more people.
Mm-hmm. And how big is this? How many employees for this specific business would you have?
So really what we just did is we have an existing property management team already. Mm-hmm. We run payroll, we have employees, we have 4 already managing my 100 doors, or the doors that we have. So by bringing on one other person, we knew, hey, we can double, not for just me personally, but double the properties that we're managing, because we've been managing them for already 5 years.
But let's say you double your doors, aren't you going to need more maintenance workers?
Yeah, great question. So we've come up with that, is we've identified by bringing on third-party vendors to help to cover the gap when we have deferred maintenance and such. We've identified that if we have 3 third-party vendors, then as we have 3 third-party vendors, it allows us to have our maintenance crew in-house be able to take care of priorities also. So yeah, we've definitely thought of, hey, we probably need to bring on 1 additional maintenance individual once we probably hit like another 50 doors or so. Mm-hmm. But as long as we have third-party vendors that we have good relationships with, they can help with that. It's kind of like, should you have a full-time employee or independent contractor? Well, if there's not 100% like, full-time work, you're going to probably they're doing contract work for other individuals, you're going to pay them as a contractor. Versus if they're just working with you and you're responsible, then they're employees.
So Matt, you're a very seasoned investor here. You have over 100 doors. What's the exact number?
100.
100 on the nose.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good job. So I know most of those are single families. Is there any in the future? Are you going to the multifamily apartment space? Is that in the near future?
Yeah. It's probably 50-50 actually. So I've got one 8-plex. Let me count. So I remember. 6 4-plexes. So that's 8 plus 6 times 4 is 24. 8 plus 24 is 32. And then I've got 6 duplexes. So that's 12. So almost.
But I'm talking big,
60,
like
40. Yeah,
60 unit, 100 unit.
Yeah, great question. So I'm not as concerned as much as how many doors I have like I used to. I'm more conscientious of how to increase my cash flow, decrease my expenses, and live an amazing life with my team too. So to answer your question, I'm going to an event next month in Texas somewhere. I can't remember. We just booked our flights. But I'm going to an apartment class that I don't think anyone in Utah knows who the person is. Not that that's important or not, but I'm going to one.
What's it called?
I don't even remember. I just booked the flight and the ticket today because someone emailed it to me. But I'm going on a Friday and coming back Sunday night because I want to go and just pencil out different things that I'm familiar with but not experienced with. So yes, I'm going to plan on selling 10% of my portfolio now. I would call my C or D properties, sell them and roll up into like a 4-plex or into like a 8, 12, 20. I'm less concerned with buying a 50-unit apartment complex today just because it doesn't really do it for me. And I want to make sure that my team is prepared that they can handle the management because I like keeping that in-house at this time.
Okay. Because there's another thing like return on energy, right? So if you had 50 doors spread across, 4 plexes versus one building,
Sure.
Wouldn't you think you talk about lifestyle? Maybe lifestyle might be a little bit better if it's just consolidate all in one.
Yeah, it's a good question. So it doesn't really. Here's what's awesome. I have a fantastic team that it doesn't affect my lifestyle as much. So what I'm conscientious of is making sure my team is prepared to take on the new responsibilities or options to be able to get stretched. Something that we went over today is like, what's our ideal client bringing on property manager investors? So what's our ideal client is someone who has like 8 units or less as in doors, like as an apartment. So if someone has a 16-unit apartment, that's just a different way of managing it. And can we grow and learn that? Absolutely. There's a space for that. But I also understand, like, as real estate investors, there's called a starter and a builder and an ender. You've heard this multiple times, right? A starter is you've been investing in 10 years or less. So 10 years or less is you're all over the place. You're not sure what you want to do. You want to be a realtor. You want to wholesale houses. You want to do flips. You want to do seller financing. You want to do podcasts. You know how it goes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's good. So, and then a builder is once you've survived a cycle, which is important. So you've done a fantastic job yourself. As you see the cycle, though, you're going to be like pulling out your hair and getting stressed because you just haven't experienced that before. Where I'm going to be like, I got this. I did this last time. How do I do this differently this time? That's where like learning, coaching, consulting, following people who've already done that before is vital, just always keeping that pulse, right? So a builder is years 11 through 30. There's 2 ways of cash flow. Cash flow from notes or cash flow from rentals. Fixing and flipping or assignments are a job. You get taxed as ordinary income. So as you're on years 11 through 30, you're going to become a builder. An ender is years 31 through 40. So you've already gone through probably 3 cycles in your life. You've established a rapport or a track record. You have two concerns as an ender. One is preserving capital. You don't want to lose your principal balance, right? And the second one is paying the least amount of tax possible or being tax efficient. When I learned this literally 4 years ago this month, like last week, because I had a Facebook post show up like as a reminder that I remembered that conference I went to. And the conference, like the investor, his name's Pete Fortunato, he only covered this for maybe 30 minutes of a 2-day class. And it really impacted how I was investing. So like I'm more concerned with like bringing people up and helping them develop versus like I got to go get that 50-unit apartment complex. Like that deal flow is not as important for me, but might change in the future. Just for 2020, it's like refining the skills that we have to be able to prepare to like level up.
Right. Yeah, and that's one thing I really respect about you is you always have been helping me out to get deals, even if you're not making any money on the deal. You're going to be helping me out, giving you as much advice as you can.
Yeah. Is there a specific deal you're talking about?
I'm struggling to think of it right now.
Really? You guys see his face? It is more red than
like your shirt, right?
Yeah, red like my shirt.
Or your shoes.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, what were we even talking about?
We were talking about how red my underwear was. Okay. I'll show you later.
All right,
Just
cool.
kidding.
So take us back. So if I was a new real estate investor, if you were me right now, what would you be focusing on as we are in 2020, where the market for the last 2 years, everybody says this is the time where we're going to start seeing a decline, but we really haven't. It's kind of leveled off, and we've seen a little bit of growth, but still kind of in that plateau phase.
Okay.
Where do you think the market's going, and then what would you do as a newbie investor, ready to just tear and get after it?
Yeah, so tearing it, we don't want to tear it too quick because you might get torn up, right?
Yeah.
So a couple of things I would consider. I definitely think so. There's like each market. There's the local market, like the city, right? Then you have the county. Yeah. Then you have your surrounding counties, and then you have the state. Then you have your regions. Then you have the United States of America, the greatest country in the whole wide world. So, don't you agree?
I do.
Yeah.
agree.
Okay. Cool. We were both American.
Yeah.
All right. So, and we love the world, right? World is definitely influential. This is what I'm personally doing. I'm monitoring the states that have had the highest appreciation each year the last 3 years and seeing where they're going up or down on a national level. That's what I did accidentally during the last crash. I saw other states going down, so I paid attention of what's the market doing. Softening, how about stabilizing is great. It helps for buyers. There's less speculation. I think that I'm down for it to stabilize. Like I'm excited. I can make money in a market going up, a market that's flat, and a market's going down because I've done it in all three. So I know what I would do differently. I think it's really important to have money saved. I think like learning to save, you got to become a saver to become an investor. And as you become a saver to become an investor, then you like take on different responsibilities to grow, right? So I think your first year, if you're brand spanking new, is study as much as you can based on what's the most interesting to you. So like for me, last night I went to a real estate investors association called UVRIA, and we had Brian Pitcher and Stephen Bond as the speakers, both excellent, completely different strategies. Brian Pitcher is in the assignments, flipping real estate agency part. Stephen Bond is in the brokerage, development, and he's actually sold some of his businesses recently, just reevaluating, right? But what I took from both of them is having cash is super important, and then always looking at different ways to make the deal work. And Steve did an example of the three-sided coin, and he flipped the coin. He's like heads or tails, but there's another side that's the outside circumference. And I never thought about that before. He's like, if you can learn the outside circumference, and he said, I think he learned it from Robert Kiyosaki, is then it's not just heads or tails. You can always make a different deal work. So I think studying the market now and picking up PUTFP, you've heard me say this a lot. PUTFP is pick up the freaking phone, is as you pick up that and have engaging conversations with other people, then you'll get a better idea of how to invest. And then the other thing to take into consideration is the long-term plan. Like real estate investing to me is not get rich quick. It's wealth creation, which is super important.
Gotcha. So let's say we are stabilizing, and then let's say maybe the next 12 to 18 months we start to see a downturn. How does that play? So my industry, it would be wholesaling, right?
Okay.
So how would that affect? I haven't been through a cycle, so I don't know. So how would that affect my industry in wholesaling?
How do you think it'll affect you?
I feel like it would. I feel like it would benefit us because people would be more willing to sell at a lower price. But then I also think when I go to resell that to a cash buyers, I think our assignment fees might not be as high because people are going to be less enthused to take on riskier properties. So I feel like we're going to be able to buy them at cheaper prices, but I don't think we're going to be able to sell them for as high as we would.
Okay, so let me clarify. So basically, you're going to be able to buy them at a lower price, but just not have as much spread.
Right.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Do you think you might have more volume?
Yeah, we'll have more volume.
Yeah, so there's a couple ways to look at it. Is you could have either like more money per deal, or you could have more volume for velocity. I prefer velocity because I think the more deals you look at and you vet and you analyze and you study, then you are in a better financial spot. Versus if you're just like chasing that one big fat whale, like that sounds great. That hasn't been my priority. I've always been a base hit type of guy. So I think it's important to, like, as a landlord, do you own rentals still? Mm-hmm. Okay. You don't liquidate all of them to get your cash and go into wholesaling full time, right? You kept some?
I kept some. Yeah.
For a rainy day, right? It's long-term hold. So with the market getting softer, you got to take into consideration rents. So I want to have my vacancies be the shortest amount of time possible with the highest quality person. Or the other way to look at it is I want my rents to be as high as possible with the best quality person without having turnover, right? So I think your cash flow part is important because as the market goes up and down, you got to take into consideration rents and cash flow. And if rents go down and older landlords reevaluate what they want to do, you can sometimes get really good deals from them with seller financing.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to target is the older landlords. The seller financing has been, I don't know, it just feels like it's been like a struggle with people that I've been talking to here in the valley. I don't know, has that been over the last 12 months? Have you noticed anything like that?
Yeah, so I haven't really come across people who needed to sell personally. Me personally, like I haven't really talked to them. Mm-hmm. I think seller financing is a really good option when people have different financial challenges. Mm-hmm. And they also, if you understand what their tax benefits or consequences are. Sometimes owners who own them free and clear don't want to do a 1031 exchange. They don't want to pay the tax. So they want an installment sale because they still want monthly cash flow.
So how many seller finance properties have you personally locked
50% of mine. Sorry, 50% of my portfolio is all seller financing.
Okay, so how many like individual transactions that you...
How many have I personally bought?
Yeah, personally negotiated.
How about personally bought or negotiated? Probably 50 to 80.
On seller finance?
Yeah.
So what was the, I guess if you want to extract maybe like commonalities in those 50 transactions, like what were the commonalities that made that work?
A lot of them were behind on payments. Okay, so they were behind on payments. Or the deferred maintenance exceeded that they couldn't afford to sell it. As they understood, and they also, I was able to pay a little bit more for them to keep the mortgage intact to help bring up their credit also, but also to give them more money because the difference of what they owed versus what I could pay, as I explained what the situation was, they were okay with it. And then at the end of the day, they trusted me.
Right. So I guess I think the thing that I'm struggling with, and as I look on social media, other wholesalers are too, is how do you explain this to a seller?
Man, that'd be a great class. I could teach a class on how to call KSL leads or Craigslist and negotiate from sellers.
If you could give the super cliff notes.
Yeah. So I could do it in a class. So here's a good example. You're a seller. Are you open to earning the similar types of cash flow that you're earning now without having to deal with the headaches of maintenance, management, and tenants?
What do you mean?
Are you open to earning similar cash flow and not have to deal with maintenance, the management part, and vacancies with your tenants?
That sounds all right.
Okay, good. Tell me more, right? So then I'd find out what their pain point was. So how's your maintenance on your property? And you would
terrible.
share it. I'm sorry, mine is terrible too. Not just because I have a 2-year-old, because I don't, but the terrible twos. Tell me about it. Then they would tell me what is the challenge with it, right? And then if they said, tell me about your maintenance challenge or your management challenges, they would tell me about it. So as I find out what their pain point is, I'm coming up with a solution.
And then so I'm the seller, so I say, okay, this sounds great in theory. So how does this work?
Well, so there's a couple options. I love giving 3 options. You notice 3s, right? I love giving 3 options because of the 3 options, based on what they tell me, I would then say, of these 3s, what do you like about them? Because then they're giving me feedback which one they like. I'm not saying which one of these 3s do you want to choose. Which one of these options, what do you like about these 3 options?
What are the 3 options you're giving them? Like, give me an example.
I could do an all-inclusive deed of, so I could do less money down now, and more cash flow monthly. So let's say, Daryl, I'm happy to buy your property for $200,000. Here, we'll pick Bill Bronchek that we've learned together. He calls it your 5-5-5. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
5% down, 5% interest rate for a 5-year balloon. So that's just one option, right? The seller might say, I want more money down. Okay, well, let's see how that looks like. Or they might say, I want more than 5% interest. Okay, great. What is the monthly investment you're really looking for? Because a lot of times people are looking for the cash flow. They're less concerned with what the interest rate is they're paying. So you might adjust the amortization schedule. Rather than a 30-year, you might do a 25-year. Or you might do that they want $2,000 a month and you can rent it out for $2,600. They're going to tell you what their needs are. Okay? The other thing to take into consideration, so 5-5-5, is I want the loan to be extended as long as possible so I can, keep that going. And as they're going to give me feedback with what that looks like, then I'm going to be able to solve their problems. So can you want to give me an example of what a concern you've heard?
I guess a concern I've had is the biggest ones are not enough money down. They want more skin in the game from me.
Okay. Okay, great. I understand you want me to put more money down. How much more would you like me to put down?
They usually say they want 20 to 25.
20 to 25,000?
Yeah.
Okay. 20 to 25,000. So,
which is a little steep.
Are you open to 20,000?
Me as the buyer.
How about let's roll, right? You open to 20,000 versus 25?
I'd be more comfortable at 15.
So are you the seller or the buyer?
I'm the buyer.
Okay, you're comfortable at 15.
Yeah.
All right. Now, you as the buyer should ask me, if I give you 20,000, are you open to keeping this loan for 30 years?
Okay. So you just walk them down?
It's positioning. It's finding out. It's just asking. You don't know unless you don't know, right? Mm-hmm. So they say, yeah, I'm opening to keep this loan for 30 years. Fantastic. Can we keep the same interest rate that you have right now? Yeah, that's good. Okay. So what I heard you, Daryl, if we can keep the loan for 30 years and we can keep the same interest rate at 4.5 and you're comfortable with 15,000, but you would really like 20. Are you open if I give you 15,000 now and then 1,000 a year for the next 5 years?
That's a creative solution.
Just different, right?
Yeah.
So it gives them different options. Or, Daryl, I understand you want to sell me this property. What other things to know you have skin in the game besides money would you like to know about me? They might want to know what your tax returns look like. They might want to know what your credit looks like. They might want to see a financial statement. There's a lot of different. They might want to get other referrals that you've done this with. At the end, no one wants to lose face, right? Like they want to be like, hey, this is a win-win, or it's better for you. Mm-hmm. So it's really just finding out what their needs are and then what you can do with it. Mm-hmm. Now, if you say, hey, right now, let's say this 15,000 is doesn't work for me, then you'd look at like, hey, here's an example. Your payment is X and rent is Y. Would you want to buy a rental property like this if this was the numbers? It doesn't degrade them. It just asks them questions to see what they think.
Okay. And then I guess the other big one too is, what happens if you don't pay? Do I get stuck with the house?
That's a great question. What would you like to happen if I don't pay? What would be the best for you?
I don't want the house.
Okay, great. Would you like me to put some money in an escrow account to know that I'm paying ahead of time?
Then make you feel more comfortable.
Cool. Would you like a copy of the mortgage statement each month that you could look at any time?
Sure.
Okay, cool. In addition, would you like access to the online bank account for that property so you could see that there's money in there?
Yeah.
Great. So if I can help you keep one payment ahead of schedule and you have online access to the bank that we're making the payments to, and then you have access to the bank account, you can't withdraw money, but you have a username and password that you could look at it. I'm just giving you an example. Would you feel open to that? Now, if you feel open to that, are you open if I put less money down up front knowing you have all that access?
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Okay, cool. So it's just finding different solutions with like what that seller's needs are right now.
Yeah. So one thing I've noticed about you is you're always able to find like a very creative solution. Like you always make me think whenever I talk to you.
You're a thinker.
You always bring out a different. Yeah. How do you?
Do you want to think more?
Yeah. How do you? I want to think like you, Matt.
You want to think? Well, you could learn from me more. So we have this thing called MJ Real Consulting that is a foundation framework. We have classes. Hopefully you were out of town for my blueprint class. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a good reason. So I teach 3 classes a year. So I do blueprint. I always do it normally the first January of the year. In 2021, January 2nd happens to be that Saturday. So we're going to do it on the 9th, just because you know how people come back after the day after New Year's. But that's a very important planning class so you can establish your personal business real estate investing goals, have 8 hours to like brainstorm, think about it, get feedback from others, and then implement, right? Another class I teach is on a bus, right? Learning how to analyze, how to talk to people, how to review properties, how to film too fast, too slow, what to look for, how to get pricing. Those are different things as an investor. And then I'll normally flip up different topics. Last year I taught how to build a real estate portfolio from A to Z. This year I'm going to teach a property called how to flip properties from A to Z. I haven't taught a flipping class for like probably 5 years, just how to flip houses. And it'll be great because I'm going to teach it for 8 hours of just from start to finish. Here's everything you need to do. And it'll help me get better with my flow with other people. So I think like, hey, how do you learn to ask questions? I'm going to give you 3 books. I'm glad this is videoed. One is The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. Have you ever read it?
Yeah.
You're a fan?
I'm a big Keith fan.
And you went to Plan to Get Slaughtered, right? Okay. Can you see some of the things that he's done that I've learned? Like, I'm just modeling other people that are successful, right? Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. I just read that book by John Maxwell last year. It was an excellent book of just how to ask different questions. And then I really love the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Because how we deliver the information, how we get other people to do things can just be persuasive with what we're looking for in life. What are a couple books you really liked about asking questions or talking to people?
I'm not sure. Asking questions. I like definitely Keith's book is the one that made me think very outside the box, very defensive minded as well, and finding what's actually going wrong with my business. Because he talks about like critical factors and key performance indicators, whereas like how many leads you're getting, how many appointments you're going on, those are KPIs. But I think he calls them like critical factors or critical indicators. But his are basically like, those are the things that if you don't do, that's going to impact your month. So it's like for me, it was having weekly training calls with my employees and my team, making sure we're always on the ball, because we could be setting X amount of calls or having X amount of contacts, but if they're just trash on the phone, then it's kind of useless.
Right. So what I heard you say is you can have all the phone calls you want, but if they're not skilled on the phone, it doesn't matter that you're having the phone calls, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. So that's a good book. What else do you like?
I'm blanking on his name, but your favorite sales guy.
Tom Hopkins. Oh,
yeah.
Tom
Hopkins book.
I
Master
agree.
of Sales. I read that book about 3 or 4 times, and then I just found any Tom Hopkins he had his hands on an Audible, downloaded that and listened to it.
Yeah.
And it's money.
Yeah. Tom Hopkins is money. Actually, you know what's interesting? I would say I'm on the Tony Robbins Kool-Aid kick right now for sure, but I'm a diehard Tom Hopkins fan. I've seen him 9 times in like a seminar.
Yeah, I caught him on the tail end.
You did.
He's done so.
done doing those types of classes, right?
Yeah.
I think he's in his 70s.
Uh-huh.
So he's been selling for a long, long time.
Yeah, but I just went to my first Keith Cunningham. I'm drinking Keith's Kool-Aid
Yeah,
hard now.
yeah.
So I got the 4-day MBAs coming up. So
Good.
Want to go to that, but it's $7K, so it's
Just one assignment fee.
it is.
Yeah, it's just an assignment fee or a real estate commission.
Yeah.
That's how you got to look at it. It's like, hey, that's awesome you're doing these podcasts. It's like how you can help out other people. You're a real estate agent, correct? Mm-hmm. Do you promote that?
Online, I guess, a little bit.
Are you doing it right now?
I'm promoting it right
Do you guys know that Daryl is a Keller Williams agent in Davis County? Is that correct?
Davis and Weber.
Davis and Weber County. So if you're looking for a engineer, green personality who's all about business, he's your guy. And girls, he's your guy too. All right.
Thanks for the plug, Matt.
You're welcome.
Well, awesome. Well, as we wrap this up, is there anything you want to leave with the people? Any good tidbits you want?
So I always like saying the top 3 things. Here's what's really interesting for 2020. I've had, life's amazing. It is amazing. We have these different opportunities, and I'm going to say this is the influence of Tom Hopkins and Tony Robbins and everyone in between. There's these mantras, incantations, chants, whatever you want to call them, that I learned from Tom Hopkins 14 years ago, 2006 was the first year I went to an event. He's like, you never see failure as failure, but only as a learning experience. You never see failure as failure, but only as the opportunity to practice my technique and perfect my performance. You never see failure as failure, but to develop my sense of humor. You never see failure as failure, but only as the game I must play to win. There's these certain things that have really reinforced me to have an amazing life. Tony Robbins gives examples is where focus goes, energy flows. There's tons. I just drew a blank. State is everything, right? How the triad, remember the triad? Physiology, language, different things like that. The cool thing is we are so capable of doing more. It's just our limiting beliefs with what we can do. And I think everyone who's watching this, what really helped impact my life was reading more. So I've really reduced my TV. 4 years ago, I probably watch 2 hours of TV a week on my own. And then if I'm with my kids watching I love Star Wars. You like Star Wars?
Yeah, I love Star Wars.
Love Star Wars. So I'll watch anything Star Wars. But I read every morning for 30 to 45 minutes to an hour. That's really helped me a lot. I think studying. I also think modeling other people who are more successful than you, right? So you're a snowboarder, is that correct? Skier. You went skiing recently in the last 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. I saw your Facebook stuff.
To Aspen.
Aspen, cool. So if I wanted to go skiing, would you take me skiing?
Yeah.
Probably laugh your ass off, right? You're like, hey, go down this hill, right?
Get some good footage.
Yeah, get good footage of me eating it. But I'd rather model people who've already skied before versus me trying to go figure it out myself. So I'd actually probably take lessons first. So I have some basic fundamentals and then go ski, right? So I think modeling someone more successful than you with what you want to do is really important. And then I think the third thing is I went to Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny just last month in December. And it's an amazing experience. It's 6 days. It's intense, okay? And they have you share these things like your new I ams, right? Who you are. So for 2020, it's I am love, I am gratitude, and I am compassion. And as we say what we are positively, a lot of times we say what we are negatively. And I think as we focus on business, real estate, cash flow, lifestyle, how to get our KPIs better or the people on the phone to sound better or how to ask those questions, it's really important that it's awesome that you're bringing awareness and sharing and being able to give back to those. And I also think as we are modeling our life, I was chatting with a realtor this last week. He's like, I don't want to just be known as a realtor. I want to be more impactful to that. And I was like, dude, that's really good. I am more as a real estate investor, as a human. And what's cool is as we focus on how we can influence other people, like my plug with you that A, you're single and B, you're a realtor, right? So that there's availability. So I think that's important to give back to other people and then also leveling up with what we want to do in life.
Awesome. Well, if the people want to get a hold of you, Matt, where are you at on social? How can they get your coaching program?
Yeah, you bet. So at Matt Atkinson, and you'll see I share frequently on Facebook. My consulting coaching programs, mjarealconsulting.com. MJA, like Matthew J. Atkinson. I love myself. mjarealconsulting.com. And then I'm on the board of the Utah Valley Real Estate Investors Association for 2020. I'm the president. We're going to have amazing meetings like we had last night. And then those are great ways for people to connect with me, and can also help you with the residential mortgage financing. I love real estate investing and financing helpful. I work at Intercap Lending here in Draper, Utah. So definitely can help people with a lot of different things with their needs.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you doing this. It was good to learn a little bit more about you, and maybe we'll have you on again.
Question.
Yes.
Of course, you're going to have me on again.
Yeah.
You're going to have me on again. It's a Jedi, right? You're going to have me on again. What was the top thing you took away from this, Daryl?
Oh, man. I kind of like how you're doing your property management company. I like, because it's a new stream of business, kind of what I'm doing. And it's interesting that you're not really blowing it out of the water. You took the model that you already have, and you hired, instead of just hiring a bunch of little people, you hired experience. You went up, and so you don't have to go through the learning pains. You kind of hired that out, and hopefully it plays out this year that it was a good hire.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that I want to say struggle with, but I just haven't done, is I usually just hire people either I wouldn't say at my caliber, just like lower than me. Maybe because
less experience,
maybe because that's what I can afford, or maybe there's just a mental block or something. But I think that's one thing I want to work on this year, is either hiring equivalent or hiring up. And that way I'm actually, it's a coaching role / an employee role.
Right. Yeah. So good comment with that is, it's good to hire people. I think it's better to hire overqualified people than underqualified people.
If you can afford it.
You can afford it. We can afford what we want.
All right.
Literally. It's what do you want? Why do you want it? In 3 action items. So what do you want? Why do you want it? In 3 action items. Then you can implement everything and get really amazing progress. So that's what you guys can take away. Anytime you want an outcome, what do you want? You literally write it out. What do you want? And then why do you want that? You literally write it out, like as detailed as possible. Then you know, what do you want? Why do you want it? Then your 3 action items, that's how you're going to accomplish what you want to get.
Awesome.
Cool?
Great takeaways, guys.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
All righty.
Okay.
Later, guys.
Bye.